Welcome to episode 1 of our podcast, Literacy is Lit at Centenary University. I'm your host, JPizzo. Centenary University's annual literacy conference is our setting today on the 7th of June, 2024, as we prepare to chat with Alice James. She is the co-founder and executive director of the Black Authors Hall of Fame and host of the Read This Authors Corner podcast. In her words, she has dedicated her life's work, quote, to bringing awareness and accessibility to the rich history, diverse voices, and powerful messages within diasporic literature and art, unquote. Ms. Walker serves as the executive director and co-founder of the Black Authors Hall of Fame.
Stop, Joe.
Yep.
You call me Miss Walker.
Oh, see, I knew I was going to do that.
I saw that. I saw that, and I meant to correct you, and I couldn't find it when I went back. Yeah, you called me Miss Walker. I was looking for that.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
I've had to change it a couple of times myself.
I was like, I saw that. Okay.
I'm a big fan of Alice Walker.
I know. I say he thinks I'm Alice Walker. Thank you.
Sure, it's not in anywhere else.
No, that was the only place, but I couldn't find it again to tell you. It was so funny.
All right. Well, let me, I'll pick up. We'll wait a couple of seconds. I'll just pick up, and I'll have a big part in the front to cut, which is okay. Welcome to episode 1 of our podcast, Literacy is Lit at Centenary University. I'm your host, JPizzo. Centenary University's annual literacy conference is our setting today on the 7th of June, 2024, as we prepare to chat with Alice James. She is the co-founder and executive director of the Black Authors Hall of Fame and host of Read This Authors Corner podcast. In her words, she has dedicated her life's work, quote, to bringing awareness and accessibility to the rich history, diverse voices, and powerful messages within diasporic literature and art. Ms. James serves as the creative director of BEN. That's the Black Excellence Network. Works from inductees to the Black Authors Hall of Fame are being featured prominently at Centenary University's annual literacy conference today. Educators are learning how to enrich every curriculum with works by writers from Africa, the Caribbean, South America, and the United States. Ms. James comes from a rather interesting background. It seems that she has a 40-year background in the fashion industry as a designer and technical director. She has committed her creativity and talent as a storyteller to, quote, elevating Black authors and their transformative works, unquote. Ms. James states that, quote, through the Black Authors Hall of Fame and Read This podcast, I am introducing audiences to both renowned and emerging writers, sharing how their narratives impact culture and inspire the next generation. I am committed to ensuring the world sees and appreciates the brilliance of Black excellence in literature. Ms. James has positioned the Black Authors Hall of Fame to pay homage to, quote, authors, poets, and playwrights for using their genius to inspire change, document the human experience, and mobilize movements. Our vision is to be a current platform that highlights legends and today's change makers and inspires our youth to embrace literacy, unquote. Alice James, welcome to Literacy is Lit at Centenary University. You are bringing recognition to a most worthy group of authors, and I must tell you that it is an honor to chat with you today.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for having me. What a great name. Literacy is Lit. That's so fantastic. And I am so proud to be here to share my passion with you.
Well, thank you. And before we start our formal questioning, I mentioned in the introduction that you are the co-founder of the Black Authors Hall of Fame. Who is your helper with this?
Well, the Black Authors Hall of Fame is under an umbrella of Black Halls of Fame, which was the vision of Dr. Dale Caldwell is the visionary behind the Black halls of fame. And the Black Authors Hall of Fame is just one of several halls of fame, which includes the Black Inventors Hall of Fame, the Black Educators Hall of Fame, the Black Tennis Hall of Fame, which was the very first one that is about 12 years old. So that's why I'm co-founder, because he is the ultimate vision. Dr. Caldwell is the ultimate visionary of the Black Halls of Fame.
And an excellent individual, to say the least.
Yes, he is most excellent.
Let's begin our formal program today with a bit of background concerning the Black Authors Hall of Fame. The Hall honors authors, poets, and playwrights who are using their genius to inspire change, document the human experience, and mobilize movements, and especially to inspire students to embrace literacy. Students can explore a variety of cultures and experiences when they visit the hall, which is located in the Taylor Memorial Library at Centenary University. Now, may I ask, what is the genesis of the Black Authors Hall of Fame? In other words, where did the idea generate?
Well, quite a unique story. Back in 2021, Dr. Caldwell and a group of individuals in honor of the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa massacre, they had an induction ceremony for the Black inventors, and that Black inventors, Black executives, they had an induction ceremony in Tulsa at Tulsa University. Fast forward about 6 months later, one of the members of that group was visiting me, and she goes, "Oh, come to this meeting, join this Zoom meeting." And in that meeting, I met some phenomenal people that when you meet your tribe, right? You meet the people that think like you. It's just so amazing. They all were talking about different ways of educating our young people, some in technology, some in other fields. And Dr. Caldwell was putting together the Black Excellent Network, where we all could bring our expertise into one format to share these different knowledges. We could all bring our expertise into this one arena to share this different information. And the idea of me doing a show, talking to authors came up, and that was the genesis for as I started getting to know the authors, and most of my authors are educators, right? So because they were educators and they were pushing and trying so hard to teach things that wasn't necessarily a part of the curriculum, but they knew their students needed, it just sparked something in me that I wanted to help. And a short while later, Dr. Caldwell said, "You're so passionate about this. Why don't you, put together the Black Authors Hall of Fame?" And that's how we began.
Now, you've told me that the Black Authors Hall of Fame is, quote, a platform for learning the diaspora's literature, history, and culture, unquote. Would you kindly explain that in a little more detail for our listening audience?
Okay, so this is this is heartfelt for me, because I was born in Jamaica, right? But I grew up here in the United States. I came here when I was 4. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I learned what the African American community has contributed. I didn't know who invented the traffic light. I didn't know about the laundromat and the millions of other projects that African Americans had contributed into the society that we use every day. That was for 12 years of Black history. I got the same stories over and over and over again. So when I learned that in my 30s, it felt like a gut punch, right? You know, it just felt like, how do I not know this? I grew up in the school system. I should know this. And as time has gone on, I recognize not only do we not know it about the culture that built a lot of things here, but because I am from the West Indies, I recognize I know even less about where I come from. And as I'm talking to authors and I'm meeting authors that are writing books about Haiti and Africa and different places, I'm like, oh my God, there's so many stories that aren't told. And I don't see why that's any different than when I was in school. I learned Greek mythology, I learned Roman mythology. I took Asian, I'll call it Asian art history because I know what it was called back then is politically incorrect now. Um, there is no reason why knowing this collective information is not equally as valuable as the stuff that we do learn, right?
There needs to be a balance to history, and you're right. We need to know the backgrounds of everyone. This world is no longer finite. It seems to be infinite at this point.
Yeah.
Let
So
me ask,
that's my heart.
okay. Let me ask you this: when the idea for the Black Authors Hall of Fame first came into your mind, and you began to make plans for its creation, how was your idea received? Was it received with open arms, or was there some reluctance on the part of some folks?
Well, the biggest reluctance was on the part of me because although I recognized the importance of it and there was a connection in my heart to do this, I questioned whether I was the right person because my background is art and design, right? I don't come from an academic background. So I felt like I might be the wrong person to to be spearheading this. And it took me a minute to convince myself. What convinced me is that I recognized that I had, and I think I'm not the only person, I had a very siloed mentality. And I guess it's based on maybe some experiences that I might have had, that the intellectuals or the literary people were over here and the art and design people are over here, and never they two should meet, right? So because of that, I felt like there were separate entities. But after a while I started feeling like the connector. You know, there were other people like me that didn't feel like they fit in this circle, but art and design lives in literature. So why don't they connect? And how do we make them connect? And after I got out of my own head, there was really no real pushback. Everybody else was really excited about it.
I think we're living in a little bit of a different world in these modern times, that people are more open to see different points of view and to explore them. And that's as critical as anything. So yeah, I think your insight reflects wisdom.
Thank you. And we have to get out of our own heads, right?
Yeah.
Because um, when we look and it's not that what's in our head might be, it might be accurate based on an experience that you had 5, 10 years ago, but you have to recognize that things evolve and things change, and you have to grow and change with them, or you miss out on wonderful opportunities.
And let me ask you about criteria. Um, all halls of fame have criteria. And the question would be, what is the criteria for the Black Authors Hall of Fame?
Okay, so the way the Authors Hall of Fame, the way we're structuring it is we have a section called the icons, and we are still in the process of, say, legally ensuring that all of the people that we want under the icon umbrella, your Maya Angelou, your Langston Hughes, those people are icons. They're not people that we would induct into the Hall of Fame. We're considering them icons, but we want to make sure we get them in there in the correct legal manner. Now, the people that we've inducted, like in 2023, when we did the first induction ceremony, where we inducted Rita Dove and Nikki Grimes and several other people. The format that we used was something that I developed in conjunction with Max Rodriguez, who is the founder of the Harlem Book Fair, and QBR, the Black Book Review, the quarterly, sorry, QBR, the quarterly Black Book Review. And he's been doing that for over 25, 26 years. And he has a book called Sacred Fire, the 100 essential Black books that everyone should know about. And so we took um, that book that he created 25 years ago, and we deciphered how he came, because a publishing company came to him and asked him to create this book. And he created it because it was a necessity 25 years ago, and it's still a necessity now. And we use that. So you have to have a body of work of, say, at least um, five five books. You have to have been in the public you have to have been a writer or author for roughly 10 years. So we want you to, we're not looking for the one and done. We're looking for people that this is their career, this is their passion, and your work needs to be empowering, educational, or informative in some way. It can't, I find a lot of stuff that we read and watch on television is, say, modern day Godfather, so, and especially with the Black community, it just feels like this is the modern day version of Godfather. That's not what we are celebrating. We're celebrating excellence and intelligence, and something that empowers and improves our image in the world.
Now, a question that I think a lot of folks may have on their mind is, if you're a non-educator, or you're a student or a faculty member or a college degree holder who's not connected with Centenary University, may you still nominate authors for this hall?
Yes, most definitely. We're looking to have, because we're still building everything out, we're not doing an induction ceremony this year, but we plan one for next year. And yes, we love that once we have nominees and people that fit the criteria, we have a board of um, people in more so in the library space, and somewhat in the publishing space, or I should say we have people in the literary space that we will get a general understanding of which direction we're going, and we'll make our choices based on that.
Now, what's your biggest challenge, or what do you foresee maybe as your biggest challenge in maintaining the Hall of Fame and having it grow, having it flourish?
um Honestly, the only challenge I see at this very moment is the funding to fund my grand ideas, because my vision for the Black Authors Hall of Fame is for it to be almost a PBS for Black history, Black literary history and culture. I'm a big PBS fan, and I'm a big History Channel fan, and I don't see that we have anything like that that really delves deeply. I love what Skip Gates does with his documentaries and things, but that's one off and that's one person. And there are so many people that have done so much research and that are constantly uncovering a ton of vital information that it's hard to find. And I would love to be the person that's able to put all of that under one umbrella to make us easy to find, make it a reputable um, platform that you're not getting some wild opinions, but you are actually getting facts and information from legitimate sources. So my goal is to have a PBS type platform of just information that anyone can consume that wants to broaden their cultural competency.
Would you put a committee together to seek funding? Because I'm sure that would need some support.
Yes, actually, I've already started. I'll be working with Centenary to create our first online course for cultural competency. And I have quite a few authors that are historical fiction writers. And you hear the word fiction and you feel like, oh, the information is fiction. No, the information is fact. The story is fiction, if that makes sense for you.
Yeah, it's historical fiction.
Yeah, so because they do all of this research to create these books, they have a ton of information about a time period or an event. And I asked one of my authors, who's an historical fiction writer, of a Jamaican story about Queen Nanny, who is our, I guess, would be equivalent to a Harriet Tubman of Jamaica. So she used her research from her book Run to Freedom to create a story about Queen Nanny, and we're putting it up as what I call supplemental learning. Because while it's wonderful to have educators in schools teach our children about history and culture, that is really too big of a project to put on the shoulders of teachers who are already overwhelmed. So I want to create a platform where, as a parent, you can supplement your kids' learning. As an educator, you can supplement your class learning. And as somebody that just want to learn and grow in your own life, you can supplement your learning.
Now, these seem to be very ambitious projects, but somehow, after knowing you for a short while, I think they're going to not only happen, but they're going to happen and have a great impact as well.
If there's anything that I like about myself, is that people see the confidence I have in the things that I do, and I get pretty good support, um, because it's not usually about me. It's not about, you know, elevating me or being celebrity status. I'm like, I actually prefer to be in the background. Uh, but what I do from such a place of passion. And I love the people that clamor around me and support me because I meet such wonderful people that are with big hearts. So
You have an interesting background. You don't necessarily come from the background of the traditional educator, but your background is more fashion and design and the artistic side of putting things together. So let me ask you, how did you merge these two sometimes opposite realms and sometimes not so opposite because there's art and there's beauty in everything?
well, as I mentioned previously, is that in order to move myself into this literary space, I had to see myself as a connector, right? If I saw myself only from the art and design place, I didn't feel like I fit. But when I saw myself as there are other people that think like me, that feel like, oh, they're not going to be well received because they're, quite often creative people are seen as flighty or kind of airheads. They're not grounded in reality, which there are times when that can be the case, but for most creative people, they have a process. The process just looks different than the process that is promoted. And because I recognize that, I also recognize that this is also the same issue that our children are having, right? They're in a system that teaches a certain way, and it's not that they aren't smart, but they don't necessarily fit in right away. So how can I, as a connector, show people how to connect? So that's kind of how I put it together, because as you said, there's beauty in literature. There are beautiful covers on books, there are graphic novels, there are illustrators, there are picture books. And if I can get a creative person to see that they fit in the literary space, there's space for them in the literary space, then I've done a huge service, because I had to do it for myself first. And now I feel like I hope that my experience can help show someone else.
One of the major components in literacy and literacy education is giving students a broad background of information, that without that broad background, the literacy isn't possible, because one may be able to read words and recognize words, but if there's nothing to connect those words together and to put them into a real world setting, then the words are merely just words. And it sounds like what you're saying is that there is connectivity with all of the aspects of every bit of curricula and every aspect of life. And it's the accomplished person who sees that and who is able to not only bring that together for themselves, but to translate that in a beautiful way to others as well.
Perfectly well said. Excellent. And that's it. Because if I know because I knew that I was stuck, it was easy for me to see where other people can be stuck in the same way. And I love my career. I started sewing at age 9, and by age 15, I was working as a seamstress in a bridal shop. I wouldn't change my path for nothing in the world. I I I was passionate about what I did, and I pursued the career that I wanted when I knew no one else in the fashion industry. I grew up in Connecticut. There was no real fashion industry. So because I was able to do that, but still felt like I didn't have a connection to this thing that I love. I love reading. I love learning. I have but those are those people. I'm over here observing those people that create the stuff, and I don't really fit there. So to be able to say, yes, I do fit there, and to be able to find a path to fit there, and people in that realm saying, we need you. Like being at the library at Centenary, the staff was just so wonderful and so welcoming.
Ms. James, when your body of work is viewed, what do you hope people are saying?
Oh, I hope people say, wow, I didn't know all of this. I am so glad that I have a place that I can find this information and I can trust the information that I have. If I'm able to accomplish that, if I'm able to accomplish a platform that literary works, historical works, cultural works, and art can be under one umbrella and tell a complete diasporic story, because the platform that I'm working on now is called Our Story, and they say history was his story. So now I want to create our story. So our story is not just a diasporic story, right? The our story can be the story of Hispaniola. Our story can be stories of indigenous people anywhere. Our stories can be whatever stories we want to put on the platform as our story. And because I genuinely, it's scary and exciting at the same time. I see it as equivalent to PBS, not to compete with it, but that the idea of being a resource of information. That's what I want people to think of when they see my body of work, as a resource of information.
I'm sure there are people who would like to have more information about the Black Authors Hall of Fame. And I'm sure there are others listening who would like to maybe contact you to possibly visit their schools or to be a resource for them. How may they do so?
Well, they can contact me via BAHOF.org, which is the Black Authors Hall of Fame website. And if they reach out, because yes, we want to be the resource. We would love to put together like what we did for Centenary, the Taste of Culture, right? Where educators got to see the vast array of information that's available that they might not have access to. So they could definitely reach me that way. It's contact at BAHOF.org. And I would love to talk to them about whatever it is that they're looking to do to increase their cultural competency.
Alice James, thank you so much for giving your time to chat with us today. The Black Authors Hall of Fame is an excellent addition to our Taylor Memorial Library here at Centenary University. And I personally, as well as many others, are sure that you have planted a seed that will continue to grow throughout the years. The work you're doing is not only admirable, but it's necessary, because we need to see all sides of every issue, and we need to be aware of everyone's contribution before we can appreciate anyone's contribution.
Oh, well said. Well said. And that's all I'm trying to do, really, is to make sure that the contributions of everyone is well represented. And I thank you so much for your time and giving me the opportunity to share this passion that is such a burning fire in my heart. And I thank you so much for extending the space for me.
You are welcome back anytime, and we'll talk about whatever new projects you have, or maybe just chat about the progress that's taking place, because as I said earlier, the work you're doing is wonderful, and the academic community is very grateful to both Dr. Caldwell and to you for the work that you're doing on behalf of extending our knowledge beyond its traditional parameters.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate you.
Thanks. And Alice, we appreciate you as well. Thank you for joining us for episode 1 of our podcast, Literacy is Lit at Centenary University. Check out our literacy offerings and all that our fine university has to offer at centenaryuniversity.edu. For Literacy is Lit at Centenary University, I'm JPizzo. Have a great day.